Okay, hello everyone and welcome to another randomised gaming stream. I'm your host for this randomised gaming stream as always, Random Gamer Riven, and I welcome you to the start of another week. I wasn't actually too sure what I was going to stream today as I was kind of doing the video, so this is kind of a last minute put together stream as I was thinking. But seeing as I relatively recently picked up a copy of Darius II on the Mega Drive, I thought, why not? Let's take a look at this, as it's actually a surprisingly big shooter. Now, Darius II is a rather interesting shooter, so if you've ever seen the arcade game, although probably not, I must admit the arcade games seem to be extremely rare. The original arcade game of Darius I and Darius II had 3 screens. It was a massive 3-screen version and a very interesting little title. It was a shooter. Both of them were a little bit unbalanced, I have to admit, but they were just interesting to see with 3 screens. They used the same system as Ninja Warriors. I'm just going to take off my jumper as I speak. It's been rather cool here in the UK today. And they also, for Darius II, there was a 3-screen version and they also did a 2-screen version. However, this Mega Drive version is not really an arcade port. What it is a completely rebuilt port of the arcade game for the home systems. So it's very much a completely rebuilt version of the game, and I'm going to just show you the sort of game itself while I'm just checking. I'm not going to knock the Mega Drive with the joypad. So I've actually set the rule number 1. If you're using a 6-button joypad on the Mega Drive, always set it to 3-button mode. So this version is a completely rebuilt version. I'll just stick myself up to 5 lives just to make things a little bit easier. So you've got A and C automatic or manual. We don't want to waste buttons by having them on manual. You've got game level, normal, hard, easy. I'll leave it normal. And you have the ship types. So Darius II on the Mega Drive is not 2-player. However, both these 2 ships are slightly different. So Proc Junior is the red ship, and that gives you the default Darius experience. Tia Young is the blue ship. There's normally player 2 ship. That gives you an interesting experience. That's actually a beefed up. That starts with higher initial stats, making the game quite a bit easier. But I'm not going to use the Tia Young one. I'm going to use the Proc Junior one for now. But this is basically a rebuilt port for the Mega Drive, and having played this in the Sega Saturn's version, the Sega Saturn's version was based on the 2-screen arcade version, although it's not quite perfect. I actually prefer this one to both the Sega Saturn and the arcade version, as it's a much more balanced game. And the music is actually a superb rendition as well, considering this was done in 1990, and it is actually a very impressive version. It's been completely rebuilt for the Mega Drive, and it actually feels better as a home game. Oh, I was going to say, just excuse me, guys. I'm just going to see if I can deal with the background noise in this. Okay, I have to do. Apologies. The 3 screens. 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 The 3 I've got the Mega Drive hooked up to the 32X, which I think gives a slightly clearer picture, but the downside is the 32X of the Mega Drive has a horrible connector cable that often picks up static and background noises. But I don't want to fiddle with it too much because it can cut the signal. The music is actually pretty well adapted for this Mega Drive version as well. So it's a rebuilt game designed for the Mega Drive. There have been a large chunk of changes. In fact, arguably, this is not a straight arcade port. This is a completely rebuilt version of the game. And many of the backgrounds have actually been totally changed for a lot of the stages. The backgrounds are very different. The boss orders are slightly different as well. So you could argue this is actually a separate version of the game. And I'm going to be controversial and say I prefer this to the arcade version. Which means I also prefer this to the Sega Saturn's version, which, despite being an arcade port, I'm just not convinced. It's just overly difficult, I think. Whereas this version, the ship's so sluggish in the Saturn and arcade version. This is slightly sped up. It just feels smoother as well. The bombs also blow up pretty quickly when you shoot them. You don't spend ages. Now this is actually... So before I pick the next stage, I'll just explain the information to this game. So the original arcade version, I believe, is 89. Darius II was known as, strangely, so the original Darius was known as Darius. Darius II was known as Darius II in Japan, but in certain world markets it was known as Sagaia. It's the only game to use the Sagaia name. Really bad misstep for some whatever reason. Taito dumped it for all the later games, so yeah, it was a really odd version. So this includes the sort of custom Taito system of the sort of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, and you'll notice X, Y, Z actually gets repeated on the last couple because they ran out of letters. It was released in 1990. It was, I believe this port was developed by Taito. I might go for the down route first time round and then see how I fare. It was published by Taito and it was released on the Sega Mega Drive. And look at the Sega Mega Drive, Sega Genesis. As I said, this version's completely rebuilt, so I get to pick. So you get the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Moon, Earth, Mars, Jupiter. And there are an awful lot of changes between this and the original arcade version. A lot of these stages are actually quite a bit different when you start looking. A lot of them have different backgrounds as well. Some are the same, like the first stage is pretty much the same, but from the second stage onwards things start changing quite heavily with the Mega Drive version. But this Mega Drive version just plays so incredibly well, and I have to admit, it just suits it much more. One of the issues I have with the arcade version is in order to get the power-ups, the power-up waves come in groups of 8, so they're quite extensive in the... you got away. The music in this version is also superbly done. I really was surprised how good it sounds for a 1990 Mega Drive title. Some of the early Mega Drive games, admittedly Sonic had good sound, but a few of the early ones perhaps didn't have the best sound. Apologies to Mega Drive fans. I'm going, oh, I loved every tune on the Mega Drive. Well, there are some games that do have dreadful music on the Mega Drive. But this one, for a 90s game, for an early Mega Drive game, sounds superb. Now, Darius II on the Mega Drive was released in Japan, and I'm playing the Japanese version. And it was released in America under the Sagaia name. It never got a power release. For some reason, Taito just did not release their... And this is quite disappointing. One of the reasons I think Taito lost a while. Taito did not release any of their arcade games in European territories. I have no idea why. It just indicates why they failed and lost a lot of the market share by not doing that, but sadly they just did not release they just did not release any of their arcade games in the home markets in Europe, which was a huge mistake. I don't even think they released many on the SNES. There were one or two that got through, but they were always pretty rare and hard to come by, so quite a few of them are so hard that they were only released in certain parts of Europe as well. But this is absolutely a superb port. Now, this is available on the Darius Cosmic Collection on PS4 at the minute, although that collection is very expensive to buy, I will admit. Now, this was the big boss. This has actually been slightly changed from its... So this, depending which route you go, depends which version of the boss you fight, and these versions are slightly different. Don't really want to shoot the bubbles because they give me a lot more hassle. They explode, so I want to wait till he's... There's no time limit, so I don't need to rush this. Yes, it is available in the new Darius collection. There are two. They did an arcade one. No, there's three. They've done an arcade one. They've done one of some of the home conversions, but it was missing a few titles. And now they've done one for G Darius. I would actually like to pick a couple of them up. They're all blooming expensive. They're really, really expensive. They are just a bit overpriced to my liking. Actually, I'm going to do E. I haven't done E before. I only recently picked this up, so it's quite nice to get. I initially always scoffed and thought, oh, it's just a straight. But I started looking at it, and because I saw that Darius I has recently been actually converted. And actually, when I read up on it, I thought, actually, this sounds quite interesting, because it's not a straight port. I thought it was a straight port. It's actually a completely rebuilt port. And the more I play this, the more I think, actually, I prefer this to the original arcade release. It's just more fairer. It just plays a lot smoother. I mean, yeah, the 3 screens is great, but it causes a problem unless you've literally got 3 monitors. Although you might get away with 2 widescreen monitors. Don't want to blow that up just yet. What am I waiting for? What's coming on screen? Oh. Right, that is a shield power up, but I don't want to rush to get it and get myself killed in the process. There's the classic mistake of any shooter, rushing to get the power ups and then getting killed. And don't worry if you want me to do a non-commentated video, I will definitely be capturing this in the near future. I should capture the Saturn's version, actually look at the arcade's release as well. Ow! So close yet so far, and all the power-ups gone. Dryo Swarm. Okay, which battleship? I don't think... it's this one again. Okay, so you seem to fight him no matter which tier you do it this way. They have changed the boss order around a little bit. Some of the bosses are in a different order. That's a really nice to see the warping background effect. Absolutely stunning stuff. Some great visual effects. This is a 1990s Mega Drive game. And you think how many Mega Drive games came out after this? How many did not look as visually as good as this? Or sound as good as this? Hi Watson Studio channel, thanks for joining the stream. Glad to see you coming from Brazil. Hope you're enjoying, is it the Copa America where you are? We've got the European Championships over here. But yes, hello Watson Studios channel. I think you've commentated before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hope you're all enjoying this look at Darius II on the Sega Mega Drive. So I'll do a lot of different routes. I might go for a middle route this time. So I want to try and just stay with the middle. Let's aim for X. See how I go. But yeah, you do get to pick your routes. And recently M2, so I believe M2 did the Darius collections. They actually ported, I believe what was the one of the PC Engine versions, or the enhanced PC Engine version. They actually imported the enhanced PC Engine, but they did a port of the original Darius to the Mega Drive recently, which is actually quite an interesting one. And it was on the Mega Drive Mini, but it's since now been released in a physical form. So, and I might nab myself a physical form. I hope you're enjoying the stream, Waterson. And yes, hello from the UK here. Randomised Gaming is UK based. I'm looking to, I mean, for early Mega Drive game, this really is visually impressive. I do actually have both the SNES Dariuses are very good as well. I was quite surprised how good the SNES Dariuses were. This version is an awful lot more balanced and easier than the actual arcade version. The actual arcade version I was doing yesterday, over the weekend, I was dying left, right and centre, and I'm like, yeah, there was a reason I wasn't keen on the Saturn's version. Ow. Oh, I've got a white shield. There's white and green shields. I think they are the level of protection they offer. But I'm not a huge Darius expert, so correct me. Oh, gotta be careful, I'll be replaying this stage. Oh. Grindstorm. I think that was another Taito arcade game. I've not played Grindstorm. I know I've played the arcade version, so I didn't know I've not played the Mega Drive version. Ah, it's another dreadful start. This one seems pretty lenient with the credits as well, but like I said, this is much more forgiving. The arcade version is ruthless when it begins. Okay, so that's really helped me get back to where I was with the level up power-ups. You don't get punished, and the arcade version is very unforgiving. Oh, and I'm not paying attention. Oh, Tengen did it. They were Atari's Japanese arm, weren't they? Yeah, Taito were a bit weird because I think they published quite a few games on the They actually converted quite a few games on the Mega Drive, but a lot of their titles they didn't convert them. Oh, it's a dreadful run. I hope you're all enjoying the stream. As always, if you enjoy our content, please do consider hitting that like button. And if you're new to randomised gaming, please do consider... Oh, that bit's a bit tricky, actually. Those ones are slightly... Oh. Do consider subscribing to the channel, I should say, as I die twice. Right, let's try not to die this time. He says... And I'm not paying attention to where that thing is shooting. In some ways it's actually more challenging than the arcade version, because the arcade version, so the original game was like those things are horrible. Was like, so the first Darius was like R-type, where when you died it reset you back, which was so unforgiving. But all the sequels and some of the later ports. Right. Credits 3. Let's see if I get my bring my A game this time. Okay, so these things are going to bring up. Oh, yes. Bring your A game. Let's not get killed when this thing comes in, although I'm not going to get killed straight off the back because I've got a shield, but I don't want to lose my shield. I want to try and keep it. Gotcha. Okay, that's better. That's much better. But it basically uses live stream to practice, and then I'll actually do a pre-captured video later. Yes, that shield will very much save my bacon. A little bit of slowdown, but it's... nothing that too annoying, and often sometimes slowdown can be deliberate just to ease the players. Okay, this is a much better run through this stage. Oh, just lost my shield. I need to be careful now. Oh, those rockets. Thought I was going to be a goner there. Ooh. Okay, not ideal, but 2 lives finally got to the boss. This is actually a tough stage. Now, which boss is this? Okay, this is the spinner boss. So this isn't too bad. He says as I get taken out. Oh. Right, really got to bring my A game now. And that was not my A game at that boss. But I will say this is much more forgiving than the arcade game, which is absolutely ruthless. Yeah, interestingly, that boss is actually, so the big fish, that boss is actually the inside of the big fish. There's sort of an interesting twist on the, but yeah, that boss you saw at the end of this stage is actually the inside of the big fish boss. But the bosses in this version have been slightly rearranged. But in the arcade version, the double boss is pretty ruthless. And the enemies in the arcade version take so much damage, you're literally fighting in like 5-10 minutes. Which really isn't all that fun, whereas this home conversion really does just nail it a lot better with the gameplay. Don't want to get hit. Ah. Lapses in concentration there. I need to avoid that. And I'm back to square one at the boss, but still we've got... Okay, that's one. First you want to get the so that way I can start really going for the boss. Got him. A little bit of practice always helps. Yeah, it always annoys me when you see a lot of 1cc videos on the internet and people think, oh yeah, you should be able to beat this easily. No, most of those 1cc videos are people using save states and rewind functions. Unless you spent months and months practicing on one game. Well, there's something like this probably will only take a couple of weeks, maybe even a few days to master. It's just getting down the route. So one classic trick is to get close to the enemies and that way you shoot faster. Some really great animation in this, and it. See, there's some really glorious, yeah. Like I say, when you have all the power-ups, everything is so much easier in this game. But that's true of most shooters, but definitely this one, the Darius games, like, it definitely, you feel some games the power-ups have more of an effect than others, and something like this, I think the power-ups really fully powered up, everything is an awful lot easier. And into the deep we go. Some really nice stage design actually. Although a lot of these layouts are repeated, you tend to get a lot of going forward and then going down in this Mega Drive version. So the backgrounds have been changed as well. So the Mega Drive actually has a number of new backgrounds not seen in the arcade, but some of the ones from the arcade are also missing. So if you're expecting a direct arcade port, you may be a little bit disappointed. But overall, I actually think this is a vastly better conversion. It just plays better and it's just more fairer. It just feels a tighter version. I was quite surprised. I wasn't too sure what to expect, but because I hadn't. This is one of those games because I had the Saturn's version. I'd largely ignored it and thought, well, let's give it a whirl, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Very aquatic music here. Oh, that was my last life. One thing you will note, this is not full screen. Well, I suppose that's to be expected. Obviously slightly used eternal resolution, just... Power-ups do vary slightly, so you're not guaranteed to get the same power-ups each time. But yeah, in the arcade version, you had to destroy 8 enemies to get the power-ups from that, and you have to kill all 8 of the same sort of pod things. Or spinning, I suppose like spinning top enemies. In the original Darius, you just shoot the one that was coloured, so you get a squadron, and then you get one that was red, green or blue, and you just have to kill that one for the power-up. In the arcade version, where it's 8, it's actually very difficult to actually get some of the power-ups, especially if you get bumped off and then go back to 0. Some of them can be very, very tricky. I think the levels do certainly differ with their difficulty. Some are definitely, even in the later stages, I think they're sort of optimal routes. Players will find which route they prefer to others. I know in some of the later games every route has a different ending, so I don't know if that applies to the original games. But have to find out. Ah. Not what I wanted. The one thing you don't get in Darius is a bomb. It's just you and your power-ups, so... Gotcha. Oh. Clear zone, Mercury, yeah. Well, we didn't do too. M Earth. I wasn't expecting that last tail attack. Let's go running. It's actually a good way for me to practice on this as well, so I thought, yeah, why not play it, seeing as I picked it up relatively recently. Oh. Just slightly adjusting the lead, and I think that caught it. See if I get the background static noise down. That's better. I think some games do have a sort of static noise in the background, but doesn't sound quite right. Sounds a bit better. Yeah, the Mega Drive has an annoying thing. I need to actually get a replacement Sega Mega Drive to 32X connector. That connector is notorious for just going a little bit off, and then it starts picking up sort of interference if it's not quite right. So I need to grab another one. I think there's a few places that make them. Basically, I think it was a bit of a flaw with the actual cable. They weren't particularly very well made. I will admit, as I said before, the Mega Drive remixes for these tunes sound very close to the original arcade version. I really am surprised how close they sound. And the difficulty on the bosses has been slight. Basically, the Mega Drive version's turned down the difficulty of the early stages and rebalanced. In fact, everything's just easier. The arcade version, everything just takes an absolute beating before it goes down. Let's do D this time, just to show you how different it looks. I've got three lives as well. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this is actually available in the Darius collection. There's the arcade collection. I really want to pick them up, but I'm not picking them up till they're on sale. Although the downside is Square Enix, from what we've seen in the past, only seem to put on them for sale at 50 or basically like 50%. They don't seem to go any lower. So you might. They are very expensive. They were overpriced. They were incredibly overpriced on Switch as well. Oh, I didn't give myself 5 lives, so I need to be really careful now. I'm doing true arcade experience, or close to the arcade. The arcade version is vastly harder. I think it's actually a nice difficulty. It's one that you need to learn a bit, so it's not a game you're going to finish like just doing a quick run, because I've had a couple of games that when I've gone back and played them, I've been able to finish literally on my first attempt from the 16 and 8-bit era, which is slightly worrying if you can finish a game on your very first playthrough. The player should always have to learn something about the game before they can finish it. Now this one, you'll notice it's slightly different. I think it's like, yeah, you get the I might show you the other ship. Now, should actually, if I run out of credits again, I'll go as a swap ship to show you what the other ship looks like. Appreciate everyone enjoying this stream. Thanks for all viewing. I'm just going to have a play. Basically, it's kind of a practice run for the inevitable long play I'll do. So, let's do D. So it's nice to be able to chat about it, because I know some people will like commentary, some don't. Ooh. Now this stage is actually totally different to how it looks in the arcade version, so sort of a grey planetary surface. There are a lot of changes between this and the arcade version. As I said, this rebuilt port just plays a lot better. For beginners, if you were having a Hi Ryu Masaki, yes, AK Fish Fighters. Darius, yes. I've never heard that nickname before, but yeah, Fish Fighters. It's actually a really interesting design decision to go spaceship shaped like fish on Taito's behalf. Apologies I mispronounced your name. I'm Random Gamer Riven, the editor of Randomised Gaming. Hope you're all enjoying this stream, and look at Darius II on the Sega Mega Drive, which was originally released in 1990. And it is now available on the Darius Cosmic Collection as well, but as I mentioned, so you can get it on the collection. You don't need to get a Mega Drive version these days. Oh, that's not good. It's nice to actually see this get a re-release because, again, as I mentioned, this was that re-release was the first time it got a European release. Tactical use of the bombs. Slightly odd sub-enemy here that just sort of... just list... oh! Wish there was a sound test actually, the music is just phenomenal. He says as he gets blown up by an enemy I can't see. But as always, enjoying our streams, please do consider hitting that like button. Very much appreciated. And we do have a new video out on the channel which is based on the look at Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car, or Extreme Sonic Police, Exciting Sonic Police Car. Exciting. Waku Waku translates roughly, one of the words for Waku Waku is exciting. I keep thinking green shield, but it's not. It's blue, which is... oh, that was dreadful. Shouldn't have lost a life there. Just listen to that iconic Darius music. Oh, got to stay in the centre as well to avoid that. This is definitely a game where you let your eye off the ball, you will be punished. Much like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which I've been playing a lot lately. I've finally finished that as well. I've also looked... I'm not great at chatting and gaming. I always make when you see speedrunners do it, it's not something I can instinctively do. Gotta remember they come down there. Got to stay in the middle as well. Okay, that's the shield. Good, 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 good. That was a really silly mistake by me. Okay, I'm going to bring my A game. I really am not. I feel a bit tired, but I'm just going to pause it a second, mute the mic, and I'm actually going to just try and do this without getting killed this time. Okay, not a stellar performance. Getting a bit of practice. I definitely need a bit of practice of this. I'm glad to see this one's actually... so they do get harder as you go along the stages in Darius, which is nice. So that way it does build the anticipation. I remember doing Darius Gaiden, and it did take a little bit of practice before I could get to the end of Darius Gaiden. But I'm going to show you what the alternative ship looks like in this one. I'll just up my lives a bit. So this, unlike other Darius, is the second ship start. So because this doesn't have 2-player concurrent, they give you 2 ships, and you'll just see from the beginning this second ship actually has more power-ups than the first one by default. Yeah, so having a lot more power-ups definitely makes things an awful lot more easier. Appreciate all the likes everyone's dropping on stream. Glad to see you all coming by just to see a bit Darius II on the Sega Mega Drive. As always, if you enjoy our streams, please do consider hitting that like button as well. It does help the video searching and everything. I had a real fun time at I, didn't I, before? Let's do J, as I haven't done that yet in the stream. And yes, you are seeing that the more bullets I have on screen, the more slowdown we're beginning to see as well. Yeah, those power-ups are really turning the difficulty. I've just been going on a massive nosedive at the minute. You realise that once you have the power-ups, the difficulty just comes crashing down on Darius. I was quite surprised. That's the first time I've done that level. It's just breezed in comparison to what I'd done it previously. Ooh, thank you, Waterson. That was close. Yes, that was very close. Right, one last stage to go. All the power-ups, no shield though. I really don't like those nose-diving enemies that come at you. Those are the ones that cause me a lot of problems on one of the stages. But thank you, Waterston. Yep, we are. So I'm going to do X. I'm going to go straight down the middle and see how we fare. That was one of the trickier bosses. Oddly enough, that boss is much earlier in the run. I think I did it on D or G when I was doing the arcade version. So they have moved the bosses around a bit in this version. Okay, that was a superb run, and I nearly did it without dying, except for a few foul-ups at the final boss. However, looking at that ending, I suspect I didn't go for the right route, because if it's like Darius Gadian, you get lots of different endings, but the true ending is, I think it was the centre route, where you have to fight the massive crab queen. That's the actual true final boss. It's blooming, that was rather tricky. So I'm going to probably play for a bit longer. I'll give it another run. Maybe I'll run with the same ship and see how far I fare. But yeah, that was a pretty good run. I'm quite chuffed. Surprised how many power-ups there were. I was still getting power-ups even once I'd done it. So yeah. But let's give it another whirl and go a slightly different route. I think I'll aim for Z and see what I get when I aim for Z. But yeah, I think that enemy at the end is actually the proper final boss if it's like some of the other ones. But yeah, the slowdown really started to kick in once you had so many power-ups. Yes, hope you enjoyed that first run, so I'll see if I can beat it again actually. Although I'll probably finish it around the 2-hour mark this stream, so if you're enjoying it as always, please do hit that like button if you enjoy the stream. And please do consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already a member. But I will try to do a non-commentated long play as well, and I'll bump it up to 4K as well. So this one is available on the Darius Cosmic Collection. But you're actually seeing this on the genuine Mega Drive. I'm playing my Japanese copy on my Japanese Sega Mega Drive 2. Okay, I've got to go for... I want this to going to go for Z, but actually I've got to go for M, R, and then W. I want to go for the centre one. In Gadian, this was actually a big boss M, but I don't know if it is, but let's find out. I think Gadian was the first one to introduce the sort of big monsters, but let's have a go. Okay, that boss was quite a lot more tougher than I was expecting. The minute you lose your power-ups in this, you do get punished, but still got a few lives, 4 lines. Should be able to still do this. Let's go. Okay, give that another credit. That's annoying. Not going to be a one credit clear like before the last one, but let's give it a whirl. See if we can do this stage. So, no second finish. I kind of messed it up at the end. I should have just carried on shooting the boss from a distance rather than trying to get in close. Although I don't think that was the true final boss either. I think I must have gone the wrong route. I'm guessing it's either Z or Y then. But that's it from me here at Randomised Gaming. I'm going to finish for the night. So I've hoped you all enjoyed this stream as always. This has been Darius II on the Sega Mega Drive, and as mentioned, it is a absolutely fantastic port, and I will say I do prefer this to the actual arcade version. I just think it's a much more balanced and more enjoyable game. So as always, if you enjoyed this stream, please do hit that like button, very much appreciate it, and if you enjoy our content, please hit that subscribe button if you want to see more streams. I'll be back tomorrow streaming something else. I might do something else on the Mega Drive, not sure what, but thank you all for watching. I'm going to finish for now, and I will be back tomorrow streaming again. Oh, I might actually be tempted to do hardcore if I'm not feeling as tired as I am now. We'll see how it goes. But thank you all for watching, everyone. I've been your host of this randomised gaming stream, Random Gamer Riven, and I wish you a good night, a good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. See you tomorrow, stream.